We live! We live! Welcome, beautiful Saturday. Uh, it's crazy. I can't believe the day's here. I feel like I've been living for this moment like 2 or 3 weeks now. I keep thinking it's this Saturday and it's not. It's the next Saturday, but it's finally the Saturday today. Before I get going, can you guys hear me, see me? Is everything good on that end? What's up, Jose? Five Fires. What's up, Login? Five Fires. Woohoo! Let's go from Diana. What's up, Alex? Alfred. Daniel Delgado. Alexander Sandoval. Fire it up. Fire it up. What's up, Tomas? We got Joneswood. How you doing? How you doing? Hoping to hear Back to the Future. I know. I honestly doubt it at this point now, but anything is possible, right? The answer is always no until they say it's a no. What's up, Dank Slayer? Chicken strips? I haven't had chicken strips in a long time. I don't even know where to go to get good chicken strips. I guess Raising Cane soon, right? At some point. What's up, ArcZap? Do you have any plans for Epic? I do. Next year. Not trying to go anytime soon, but I would definitely like to go next year. And also praying to the family of everybody that is struggling right now and going through tough times with the passing of that person on Stardust Racers. So prayers to him and his family. Back to the Future 2. I hope so. I have to edit I have a video. I'll be posting it probably soon after this live stream of the LA Hayride. Long story short, I had a blast. I thought it was a lot of fun, really well done. And it was exactly what I was looking for when it comes down to LA Hayride. So stay tuned for that video. I had a lot of fun. It's not somewhere where you could just crank in 5 hours. It's like a 2 to 3 hour and you get the hell out of there kind of thing. But it was great. I really enjoyed it. A lot of people were telling me that like the years before were bad. And this is like a good year. But for me, it's the only year I've been. So LA Hayride's great. LA Hayride's great. The parking situation sucks, but it is what... I don't know how they could make it better. Saw you on the Terror Tram. Hey, did I do Terror Tram? I don't even know what. All my Horror Night days are mixed in. But I hope you had a good time at Horror Nights. Is the panel being live streamed? Yeah, it's being live streamed by our good buddy, Theme Park Wizard. We got to go to Theme Park Wizard. That's who's live streaming it. Hold on.
Okay. Hello. Guys, why is this not... This is a vertical... I meant to make this horizontal, y'all, but it's not working. I'm gonna try to... Sorry, I'm messing with the thing a little bit. Okay, fine. I guess it's gonna be a vertical live stream, guys. If that's okay with you guys.
That's happened to me. I know exactly how he feels. I hate when that happens. So I don't know what the heck like we're expecting out of all this. Let me see. All right, let me back out. That hasn't started. So right now, LA Comic-Con, Universal Studios Hollywood, in specific Hollywood, they are there today at LA Comic-Con. We're going to have John Murdy, John Corfino, and I can't remember the representative. FanFest will also be represented there. So we're going to have Horror Nights, Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift, and FanFest. We got that big news that dropped out of nowhere yesterday. Oh, I think they're starting. Let's see what this is
It
about.
was an accident. It was a total accident. My phone was locked.
Yep, that's what it is. If you keep your lock on the phone, it won't go like horizontal. It's gonna stay vertical. I hate when that I know how he feels. It's all good. What's up, Jake? What do we think is getting announced? Uh I think the opening date for Fast and Furious. That's the only thing I could assume. Look at they're showing FanFest stuff. I have a feeling they're just gonna returning things of FanFest. So possibly One Piece, Dungeons and Dragons. They keep showing Back to the Future. Maybe Back to the Future does come back. Uh, for Horror Nights, I doubt they announce something for next year. But I think if they do, it'd probably be FNAF 2.
Raise, raise prods. Before this, like half the people were on. The room was like 25% full, and then of those 25%, half the people were on the phones, which is hilarious. Hey, big sir. Oh, Guillermo. Oh, here they are. Woo! These from the LA Times, by the way.
Man, I can't hear not a thing. Am I tripping?
I'm gonna. Woo!
Yes. Universal in 1989 as a tour
Wait.
Universal Studio Tour.
Can the chat hear? It's so hard to hear.
Woo!
Executive producer of Universal FanFest. Steven, how long have you been over at Universal? Not quite as long as John, but I'm actually celebrating my 21st year.
Sorry about the audio. They're kind of far away.
And directly next to Steven is Abby Finnan. Abby, show producer.
Okay, so hold on.
Abby, how long have you been at Universal?
They're kind of far and they're talking. See, the thing is, I can barely hear them too.
So the wizard can barely hear. Those mics are just low. I don't think it's a wizard thing. It's just low mics.
And John, you've been there. I have two chapters in my life. I started in 1978. They gave me a broom, which just shows you anything is possible in your career. I left in 91 and I've been back now for 12 years.
Yeah, their mics. It's hard for me to hear them as well.
He can't even hear him. He's only like 2 rows back. Damn. Am I? Yeah, I got the volume all the way up.
I'm talking with John Murdy over the years about 4 nights, but we've also talked about attractions in the early days. So the panel can speak about a wide range of topics, but we're going to start with Halloween Horror Nights, which is going on right
Whack. I mean, not whack. Woo!
Closed captioning?
John, you've been closely involved with Halloween Horror Nights since 2006.
Nah, it says unavailable.
But it was already sort of running in Florida. Yeah. And so I just, give us a little bit of history of, bringing it to the West Coast and, your argument and your pitch to Universal to make this sort of a yearly event. Yeah. Horror Nights.
Let me know if this is better.
Hollywood actually started in Hollywood before Orlando, back in the 80s. But it was only 1 year, and then it came back again in the 90s, a couple of years. But by the time I was with Universal Creative, actually together, Universal Creative, and I just finished The Mummy Ride, Revenge of the Mummy. That was my last project for Universal Creative, and I got the call asking me if I would be interested in um, working directly for Hollywood to try to bring Horror Nights back. And I think it was 5 years that we hadn't done a Horror Nights when we took it over. So really, our vision for Horror Nights is what you see today. It was to license the biggest brands in the genre of horror to try to bring them to
He's just
life
talking
in
about
movie
his history at a
quality, so
universe.
that all of you, when you're going through the houses, you feel like you're living your favorite horror movie or TV show or music artist or video game. And everything that we do, we try to do it movie quality, and that's really been the recipe that we've been following for 20 years. 20 years this year. Yeah.
What it's evolved over the decades as well, but I'm curious, was the initial pitch something that would really appeal to, niche horror fans, or were you always going for something that could sort of bridge the gap and bring people into it as well?
In the beginning, our focus was a lot more narrow than it is today. Honestly, it was like it was Jason.
Halo Gelato?
The head turn. That's pretty cool. It was Freddy, Jason, Leatherface. That was in 2007. That was the first licensed properties we brought to Horror Nights, and then we did them all. We did, Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, Michael Myers, etc. So at that time, we started looking at expanding our horizon because that's what horror does as a genre.
Yeah, I think he has to turn off the mic because like the mics are for like you talking. I think when he turns off the mic, it'll be like phone audio, so like you'll sound better.
Video games, television.
But it's all right. It is what it is. I'm just appreciative we're watching this.
Back in the beginning.
So shout out to Theme Park Wizard for being here, man.
You get short moments with these characters and these scenes, but I know that there are very deep stories to these mazes. We talked extensively about, the weekend backstory.
Yeah, I think it's the DJI mic needs to be turned off.
What have you learned over the decades about sort of telling a story?
Yeah, I think it's to tell the story visually, because when you think about walking through a haunted house, it's a very loud, chaotic environment. Hopefully, there's lots of screams. So it's not like you can stop everything in the middle and do a big monologue or something like that. So we try to, mostly to our storytelling, we do use dialogue and things like that, but we really try to tell the story visually as much as possible because just because of the environment that you're in. It's not like you're in a movie theater watching a movie. It's happening all around you and it's loud and it's chaotic. So that's really how we look at it when we start breaking down a film or a TV show or a video game or working with a music artist.
But in some years, you guys have had sort of, intros and stuff. Do you find guests like stop and read those and sort of are really trying to dig deep into the lore?
I don't think anybody reads anything in a theme park. Honestly. I don't know. Do you guys read stuff in the theme park? Yeah, but you usually the facade is the opportunity for storytelling. So like if you were to go to Jason Universe, I'll use Jason again as an example, and there's the head tilt again. We have Crazy Ralph, the old guy who always tells the teenagers that arrive in Camp Crystal Lake, "You're all doomed. You're going to Camp Blood." So we're using that to help set up the story. At the same time, for Jason Universe specifically, what I wanted to do with it that was maybe a little different this year is I thought, well, it's been a long time since the murders have happened at Camp Crystal Lake. The camp's probably abandoned and overgrown, and nobody's heard anything from Jason in years. So if someone was to come to the camp, who would that be? So I started doing research and looking at YouTube videos and came across something called Urban Explorers. Do you guys know what that is? Yeah. All those people that they break into abandoned places and make videos. So I thought, if anybody was going to try to get into Camp Crystal Lake after all these years, it would be them. So if you're going through the house, you'll notice that all of the victims that aren't totally decomposed and look like skeletons, because those are the original Camp Crystal Lake counselors. But the more fresh kills, they're all wearing T-shirts that say "Destination Camp Crystal Lake Death Tours." So
I don't understand why they didn't sell that T-shirt, the Camp Crystal Lake Urban Explorers or whatever.
Camp Crystal Lake. So you see their detritus that's been left behind. So their video tablets, and it's kind of going all through the house. So we used those two things at the beginning of the facade just to kind of set up the story. Because I thought if Jason was going to kill anybody today, it would probably be influencers. I get great pleasure from that.
Great.
There's a lot of them in that house.
Jason killing influencers.
You're next.
We've talked eloquently over the years about sort of the various way horror has changed, and the way Halloween Horror Nights reflects that. You know, we've had The Last of Us in there, and you've had us in there. And then, you know, this year you have Terrifier, which is a very popular maze. Going through
There
it.
he is, too. He's right there. Everywhere I go.
So talk about that film in particular, because that film is, you know, it's sort of an intense story film. So what made it
Sort of. Very much an intense gory film, yeah.
So what made it right for Halloween Horror?
Yeah, you know, honestly, like what I'm doing now, like when I'm wandering around the park, is I'm looking at all of you and I'm looking at what you're wearing and what's on your t-shirts. And that's kind of how we came across Terrifier. So, you know, when the first film came out, and you know, working with Damien and Phil, who created the film, you know, it's kind of mind-blowing to think that, I think the producer Phil told me they spent $40,000 all in on the first Terrifier movie, which I don't even know how you make a movie for that. It's incredible. But it was a micro-budget horror movie. And there's so many movies like that just kind of come and go. But something about art stuck. And that year, I started noticing people wearing Terrifier t-shirts. And I was like, huh, something's going on. By the time Terrifier 2 came out, I saw a lot of people wearing Terrifier t-shirts. And that's right around the time we contacted them and started making the deal. And kind of what I told Damien in terms of how I see art is, you know, I grew up in the 1980s. So that would be like high school, college. So we were going to see Halloween movies. We were going to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, Friday the 13th movies. It was kind of the golden age of the slasher, right? But as you mentioned, you know, horror, the genre continues to evolve. So, you know, when Blair Witch Project came out, right? What happened in the horror industry? Everybody started doing found footage movies, right? There was just a whole slew of them. And then like Paranormal Activity comes out, which is kind of part of that. But it's getting into the paranormal, and then suddenly there's Insidious, and there's The Conjuring. And so horror always does this, and it has since the beginning of time. If you go back to the 1950s, you know, horror kind of always taps into the existential threat of its time. So in the 50s, during the Cold War, when it was, you know, fear of nuclear obliteration, what were the horror movies? It was Godzilla and giant atomic mutated insects. But what was missing in the genre of horror as it kind of was going through its found footage. Didn't it? You probably have to go back to, well, like Ghostface, you know, Chucky. So it's kind of like the 90s where that kind of started tapering off. And it was like 2 decades before a new icon came along. And I absolutely think that's
Everybody go say thank you
right?
to Halo Gelato.
Something about the character, and I
Don't
talked a
spam him,
lot
say
with
W.
Damien about this.
W with fire.
You know, part of it is that he doesn't talk. You know, part of it is that there's a sense of fun to him, even while he's doing the most outrageous, violent things. But with fans, and you could tell right away, because by the time you got to the second movie, you started seeing art pops. You know, you started seeing more merchandise in stores. And that was the moment, you know, right after the second movie where we're like, we got to do Terrifier. And we were working on that house, but the third movie hadn't come out yet. So I live in Ireland most of the time. And it was like a Tuesday night. And I was like, I got to go see Terrifier. The only way for me to see this is to go to the movie theater and see it. So I went online and I was like, oh, I'll book a ticket. Do I need to? It's a Tuesday night, you know? And there was one seat left on a Tuesday night at like 9 o'clock. And I was like, okay, this is going to be big. And sure enough, when the third movie came up, that's when it really crossed over and kind of went mainstream and took down, you know, the second Joker movie in its opening weekend at the box office. So
Joker
like
2
the time
sucks.
was right for a new slasher icon.
God, I hated that movie.
And just based on what I see in the park, yeah, it works.
Yeah, we've been to Halloween Horror Nights this year. The crowds just swarm. Are crazy sort of following with that. And I wanted to get a quick thought from you though too, because if you think about universal attractions like the Fast Coaster or Secret Life of Pets, these are endeavors that take multiple years of planning, and you're working on a much faster timeline. At the same time, you're also thinking years ahead. So give a little insight into just sort of how all the moving parts that are needed to bring a house together.
Yeah, I always say like doing a season of Horror Nights is like doing 8 movies at the same time from a production standpoint, because that's what it's really like. But for us, like say this year, like 2025 in March, we would be, obviously just about to start construction on all our houses. But at that moment, we have to now switch our brains and go, okay, next year, and start thinking about the slate for 2026. And we do that with, myself, Terry Garza in front row here, my partner, longtime partner in marketing, our colleagues in Orlando, my kind of creative counterpart in Orlando, Mike Aiello, and their marketing people. And we're getting together as kind of a tight little group to start looking at, okay, what do we want to do next? And these days, it's a lot different than when we started. Like I said, our focus in the beginning was all like slashers, So now we're kind of trying to check a lot of different boxes when we're putting together a slate. So, we want to always try to do something that's contemporary, that represents the modern, age of horror. That's you, sir, sitting in the back there, Art the Clown. That represents that. We always like to do things, we don't like to forget our roots of where we started with the kind of classic slasher characters. So that would be Jason, you, sir, sitting right there. We've gotten into video games, as you mentioned, with The Last of Us. And so Fallout represents, that aspect of it. Obviously, what we're doing is based on the Amazon series, but that's heavily rooted in the video games. And then we like to do things that I call brand expanders. I like to think of horror, particularly today, the genre is pretty wide open. With the advent of streaming, there's so much more content out there. So I like to take chances on things that you might not on the surface think of initially as horror. Like a good example of that would be The Weeknd, right? When Abel first called us and wanted to work with us on a house, even my reaction, having only known the songs from, driving my kids back and forth to school and hearing, Blinding Lights on the radio or something like that, I didn't get it right away. I was like, that's interesting. Why would he want to work with us? But then as you do your research and you dive in, you go, oh, wow, there's really something here. So the example this year of that is The Horrors of the Wyatt Six. Have you guys checked that out? Woo! Yeah. Is that a thumbs up? Yes? Yeah. So again, and that was brought to me by my colleague, Mike Aiello, who knew Bray Wyatt. And when Bray was alive, he had multiple times said to Mike that he would love to have a house at Horror Nights. So that meant for me that I needed to, because I'm not a huge WWE guy. My dad used to take me to the Olympic Auditorium, not too far from here. You know where that is? It's a church, I think now. But that's where wrestling used to be in the days of, it's going to date me, Freddie Blassie, John Tolis, Mil Mascaras, Man Mountain Mike. But I used to see that in the early 70s, but I didn't really follow it. So I had to do a ton of research. But in the process of doing that research, what I really came away with is what an amazing talent Bray Wyatt was. And for anybody who doesn't know, he died in 2020, I believe. And his brother, who goes by the name Bo Dallas, carried on his legacy with the Wyatt Six. So to me, I wanted to make the horror movie that Bray never got the chance to make, or the haunted house. And as you go through that house, right as you exit, if you look, we did a little tribute. There's a little image of Bray, and it just says for Bray, because that's really what we wanted to do. We wanted to pay tribute to his great legacy. So these days, we're looking all over the place, not just the things that are inherently horror, but things that could be perceived as horror that we can bring in and through the filter of Halloween Horror Nights, turn it into a horror experience for you guys. So that's kind of how it works.
Yeah. Stephen, we're going to come to you in a second, but I just want to get a quick thought from you, John, on
Sure.
I'm very partial to the Scarecrow house. I love Guns N' Roses or Slash, and love the idea of sort of the environment sort of taking revenge. But yeah, talk about stuff like the Scarecrow house, the Monstrous Maze.
The
original ideas.
Yeah, so obviously we lean very heavily into intellectual properties. That's kind of always been our vision, but we do original content. Scarecrow, we had done the house in 22, and to give credit where credit is due, it was originally Orlando had done a house called Scarecrow the Reaping. But for me, I wanted to
again, do what horror always does. I wanted to tap into the existential threat of our times, which one of them these days is the environment, right? So I wanted to set it specifically in the Dust Bowl and kind of tell the story that way. Last year, I think I was in the park with my daughter, and Slash texted me, and he was in the park with his son. So we decided to do a little meetup. And at the end of that night, I was walking him back to his car, and he just goes, "What's next?" And I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking of bringing Scarecrow back, and I'd like to do something musically that is in the vein of old Appalachian folk music." And he goes, "Oh, that's cool. I just learned how to play banjo and dobro." And he like Slash never stops learning. He's constantly learning new things. So we learned all these traditional musical instruments and created an original score for us, which I loved. You guys dig Slash's score for Scarecrow? Yeah. So that's one example of an original thing we do. The other is Monstros, right? You guys dig Monstros? Yeah, and again, to give credit where credit is due, the reason we do Latin American themed content and why that has become such a big part of what we do at Horror Nights, partly it's the city we live in, right? Los Angeles, and its rich history, right? But honestly, it's you guys, it's the fans. 15 years ago, people were coming up to me in the park and saying, "Have you ever heard of La Llorona? Have you ever heard of El Cucuy?" And honestly, I hadn't at that time. It wasn't part of my cultural upbringing.
Have you ever heard of a raptor maze? We need raptors.
To be one of the most disturbing stories ever in the world of myths and legends.
We need raptors.
So we started
in a
embracing
maze.
that and doing that content.
Dinosaurs
Monstros was
in a
conceived a
maze.
few years ago. If it was successful, it was always planned to be a trilogy. I think at Midsummer Scream, I was like, "And this is the last one," right? Now it's killing it. And I'm like, "Oh man, why did I say that?" But I think I have to hold to my word that this will be the last Monstros house, and we'll move on to something else after that. But the feedback we get from our fans, like literally letters, tweets. I know how important it is to our fans that we do this content, and I love the Monstros house. I think it's one of my favorite houses this year. It's a fabulous cast. And it's really cool that original content can go head to head with some of the biggest names in horror and hold its own. So I think we'll continue to do that in the future.
Yeah.
So, thank you, John. Stephen, you've been really closely involved with the theatrics at Universal Studios for your entire time there, and obviously you had this sort of quote unquote template of Halloween Horror Nights. But talk about the idea and the generating concepts for FanFest and how you want to do something that maybe sort of fit in with what Universal was known for and was doing, but also deviated from it.
Yeah, awesome. And firstly, how awesome is this right now? Thank you all for coming out to. It means so much to us, and we're so excited to share with you some of the behind the scenes and being up here with John. Actually, to your question, FanFest Nights really builds upon the legacy of Halloween Horror Nights. So being able to drop our guests into these worlds and allow them to interact with them. And what we've done with FanFest is then being able to take that to the fandoms of sci-fi, fantasy, gaming, and anime. The fans wanted more, so we certainly wanted to give them more, which is really what was the cause and the reason for FanFest Nights.
Well, what I loved about FanFest is, it took a sort of a different approach to these walkthrough attractions. So you just talked about sort of these genres, it maybe sort of why they necessitated a different approach to storytelling.
Yeah, it was one of the first things we looked at is how are we going to allow our guests to be able to engage with these genres similarly but differently than Halloween Horror Nights. So we wanted to really establish that rhythm that Halloween Horror Nights has created, but create a new rhythm for FanFest Nights. So we created a story-based pulsed attraction. And what that allowed us to do is really allow our guests to be able to be that much more immersed into the environments, into the storytelling, be able to take them through a journey from start to finish. And you mentioned the word theater, really have a theatrical experience that had a strong beginning, middle, and end that was able to tell a story over the course of 10 to 12 minutes.
Yeah, as somebody who writes about theme parks and immersive entertainment, I love sort of interactive theater, you know, and I almost sort of wonder, was stuff like, you know, the Sleep No Mores of the world, was that sort of stuff that was an influence on some of what you were thinking about?
We took a lot of influence. We took a lot of influence from things that have been done before, but we wanted to break new ground too and create these exploratory experiences. Really, when you look at things like we did with Back to the Future, Return to Hill Valley, I hope everyone got a chance to. That was something that was really near and dear to our hearts, just because it was so uniquely universal. Only we at Universal Studios Hollywood could have done that. Bring our guests back to Courthouse Square, walk in the footsteps of Marty McFly, and do it in a way that was truly exploratory. You got to pick your own adventure. We saw guests down there for 45 minutes, an hour and a half, really soaking it all up and being able to take it all in.
Yeah. But I'm curious too, because you guys started with, you know, sci-fi, fantasy, anime, gaming. When you're looking at FanFest, and especially now that it's been confirmed that it's coming back and is going to be a universal staple, like, is there something that is sort of quote unquote right for FanFest, or like how big do you view this sort of umbrella?
Yeah, FanFest at its core is a celebration of fandom, and that's really what we want it to be: is a celebration of those who have affinity for these genres and be able to celebrate not only the content but the fans themselves. So certainly in a lot of the work that we did, it took about 3 years from the initial idea to land this current year's event to be able to develop it. But we looked at which fandoms resonated most, which fandoms the fans wanted most, and that's what called us to those first 4. But there's a lot more fandoms out there, so we're certainly eager to explore additional opportunities in the future.
And how long was it sort of in development? How many years did something like this take?
Yeah, it took just about 3 years from that first idea of there's something out there for the spring and something out there with these fandoms to be able to bring it to life. And we used every single minute and hour of those 3 years to be able to build these different experiences, break new ground, go through play testing. A lot of work went into not only the idea behind it, but the execution of it as well. Because like I mentioned before, we were breaking new ground in terms of how guests experience this. So 3, 4, 5 months before the event actually began, we were running play tests through them and bringing people in groups through each of the experiences to make sure that it not only delivered on the content, but it delivered on the execution as well.
Yeah. Were you guys sort of, you and the team, were you guys like just all in on year one, not even thinking about what happens if this becomes a yearly event, or was it
just want to yell like, announce something?
One of the things I love about Universal is we're always looking towards the future. So yes, we were focused on let's make this first year as awesome as it can be, but we're also
Scooby-Doo, Universal Monsters.
Some of the ideas that we're already working on for this next year were ideas that we had for the initial year that we wanted to let marinate and be able to develop a little bit further before we brought them to life.
And you mentioned the Back to the Future experience. I think unanimously from everybody I spoke to who went to FanFest, that was just one of their favorite experiences of the night. You touched on it a little bit, but what was sort of your like takeaways, sort of, you know, your learnings from maybe that experience and to why that resonated so well, and to what you could sort of learn from that and bring forward into the future FanFest?
Not only with what we did back down at Courthouse Square, but across the event, what we saw is that our fans wanted to interact and engage and explore throughout, whether it was on the streets, whether it was in one of our walkthroughs, whether it was somewhere in between. Really being able to embrace that engagement and interactivity with the content and each other is something that we saw as a true tentpole of the event and something that we're working to build upon for the coming years.
And what can you tell us about the 2026 FanFest?
So if you've been to our booth or if you've heard the news, we actually had a huge announcement that we are super excited about for FanFest Nights 2026. That we are going to be bringing together the worlds of Scooby-Doo and the Universal Monsters on a brand new backlot experience at FanFest Nights 2026. I cannot tell you how excited I am. We are, the entire team is, to bring these two.
It was concept art.
Concept art. Two brands. When you talk about that intersection of nostalgia and fun and doing it through a uniquely universal lens, you cannot get better than these two properties. So we're looking so much forward to sharing more with you in the coming months as to what we're doing behind the scenes, but do know that it's going to really engage upon that interaction, the engagement, the exploration, that we built upon for the first year of FanFest, and really delivering that with this experience and the others that we're working on right now.
Yeah, and I know you're going to reveal stuff as it comes over the next few weeks and months, but you've been doing a lot of research into the Scooby-Doo world. Just would love to just hear, you know, what you love about that universe.
You know what's been really fun about Scooby-Doo is being able to go back and rewatch all of those old episodes. And certainly one thing that it's known for are these types of interactions with other brands. So it's just such a perfect fit now bringing the Universal monsters into it and in terms of this activation and being able to relive some of those episodes. My son Noah's here and being able to watch some of them with him as well. And it's one of those multi-generational brands that just resonates with so many people. So being able to bring it to life is really exciting for us.
Yeah. And in terms of ticket information, is that still to come? Do you know anything about that? Or
Yeah, so we're actually just as of this weekend here at LA Comic Con also announced a special pre-sale ticket offer that's running now through December 17th. And if you go and buy your tickets now as part of the pre-sale, you get a special complimentary limited edition medallion that you'll be able to redeem as part of that ticket. So certainly encourage you to go get your tickets now and look for more information coming soon.
Nice. Woo. We got ours.
Mr. Murdy, I was curious, as a fan of what Universal does and the FanFest, do you take influence when you see something like FanFest?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Influence Hollywood.
Yeah, definitely. There's things we're doing this year that came directly out of the creative development of FanFest. Yeah, I made them show me what they were thinking of for Scooby and the monsters because I love that idea. I just think I think what they were able to do with Back to the Future and actually have it be in the place where the movie was made. I mean, I grew up on the set of Back to the Future. I worked at the Pointe Hills Mall when they were filming the first movie, in high school, and I was on the set of the second movie when I started here as a tour guide years ago. I know for fans of that franchise and for all these other franchises to be able to do it where it took place and where the movies are, that's so huge. But yeah, we're constantly talking with the teams and sharing information and things that they try at FanFest. We'll port over to Horror Nights and try them too.
Stephen, and correct me if I'm wrong, but since you announced the Scooby-Doo Monsters experience will be on the backlot, am I making a safe assumption and sort of that's going to be like a similar sort of Back to the Future type sort of audience? Or
We're certainly looking at that as a model, and we're looking at ways that we can continue iterating on that experience down on the backlot. So finding ways to make it uniquely Scooby and Universal Monsters while still taking everything that worked so well with what we did last year down at Courthouse Square and bringing that to life again too.
Gotcha. Thank you. And John and Abby, we're gonna
Like that,
try
he
to
said
get some
nothing.
information out of you.
He
About
said nothing.
I'm just, I do have to smile though, just briefly, because we're talking a lot about Back to the Future, and not that I'm trying to raise this for a reason, but that was my last big project at Universal, the attraction, and it's just so cool to see it still living on like that.
Yeah. As somebody who writes about theme parks, I know theme parks like to be very secretive in their info, and I know the Fast and Furious coaster is, not yet ready for opening, but I wanted to just sort of hear the two of you sort of talk. My favorite thing about Universal Studios Hollywood is that it's a theme park inside a World Studio. And so you get to experience not only these attractions, but then you can go on the backlot tour, or you could peer off and see actually people going to their, Hollywood jobs. So I honestly thought we'd never see a coaster like this at Universal Studios Hollywood, because you've got to juggle the space, you've got to juggle your backlot peers. So just talk about just sort of what it took to even bring a project like this into existence.
Well, we've always known for quite a long time that this is a type of attraction that we really wanted to have. And you're right. I mean, the special part about Universal Hollywood is that it's our very DNA. And, I just have to say, again, being surrounded by a bunch of fans, I read a lot. And what I was starting to read a long time ago when we were first talking about this was how Universal kind of was like maybe going too much in one direction, and there wasn't enough about that DNA of kind of what it was going behind the scenes and showing you kind of how movies are made. So, one of the ideas that was an inspiration around this particular attraction was, yes, it's going to be a fantastic roller coaster. It's going to be terrific. But when you take a look at the brand and the IP, and it's known for these tremendous stunts, and, it's a great opportunity to kind of bring people behind the scenes. So one of the things that you will be able to experience when you're going through the queue line is we have a lot of props that were made by the actual folks who made the props. And then there's media demonstrating how a lot of these tremendous stunts were done. So it's almost like you're going to be able to come back behind and peer through and see stunt coordinators playing with Hot Wheel cars, kind of recreate, like figuring out how they're doing stuff. So by all means, don't sell your Hot Wheels like my wife made me do it. So, and it was really fun because it really takes you there and understand this is how they came up with these ideas, especially in an age where you see a lot of CGI effects and a lot of things that aren't necessarily real. You know, this franchise is known for just tremendous real stunts. And I think we have a nice balance of being able to take you in and show you actual props, actual vehicles. We work with the real people who were involved and also teach you or teach all of us how these great things came to life.
And being so close to the backlot, the film group, you know, it's, the Fast family, everything, we were able to work really, really closely with them. We were given their drawings on how they pulled this off and their models. And so we could really recreate a lot of amazing stunts and how they actually do them. Some of the ideas they come up with to pull them off are kind of bananas, to be honest. But really incredible when you break it down. So you'll really be able to get up close and personal with some incredible vehicles. That's really cool moments.
And just to kind of add on to, we are a real lot, and we have to be very sensitive to our real lot partners and who are making films, and it's not always quiet building these attractions. And we have neighbors who hear us and see us, and this represents actually a great partnership with our neighbors and the studio coming together and figuring out how we do this and actually not step on anybody's toes. And call it Sandy Kent, who's our project director, right here in the front row or third row there. It really has been a tremendous partnership between the studio group, our global real estate group, everybody, just to kind of make sure that the collaboration and the park.
Definitely impact the park a little bit.
And how long has this project been in development? Because I imagine it just took a lot of time to figure out just the architecture of building this. And...
Well, the first idea.
70 iterations of this.
Well, we initially pitched an idea of this where, let's just say it wasn't perceived completely. So, I mean, I think that we initially did a first pass on something probably 9 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But that wasn't really the beginning of the development. The development happened a few years after that. So, I mean, anytime you're going to build an attraction like this, it takes at least 4 years. And I'm being very optimistic about that in terms of the creative development of designing everything about this. Because as most people know who have been to the park, there used to be 2 other attractions there. So you have to take those down. I know you're crying about that. I love the animal show too. But it takes a lot of choreography to make it all happen. So, and again, just a great team that us, some of them are here with us today as well. So.
This is maybe kind of a nerdy question, but you know, it's a unique park too, and that you could see this coaster from pretty much so many different lands and places in the park.
Outside the park, the 101, Toluca Lake.
But yeah, coasters are a work of architecture. So talk a little bit about that and just sort of the aesthetics of making this coaster look pretty.
Pretty. Okay. So, well, understand that Universal's also, I've made this analogy that designing anything at Universal Studios Hollywood is kind of like living your life on a 27-foot sailboat. You have to use every square inch because we do not have an awful lot of real estate. So I will tell you that there were several different paths and routes that were iterated on before we settled on this particular one. This particular piece of real estate was the most challenging, but it offered the best opportunity to bring the experience together, both from a view shed standpoint and from where it is. And if you actually want to really enjoy how it affects everybody, we make fun because we just also, the studio just built a brand new film building right there. And as you're going up one part of that, if you wave, you'll wave to Donna Langley in her new office, who runs the studio. But it's how you kind of really have to conform. And it's geometry. It's all a bunch of really detailed engineering. And, but you do pay attention to it, having to try to figure out the configurations and what's going to bring the most dynamic experience to our guests.
And our construction and facility team are miracle workers for pulling this off. The building on the hillside has been challenging, to say the least. It was kind of a piece of property that hadn't been touched in the entire history of the park. So it had some surprises in there. But it's incredible the way it's changed the whole landscape of the park. I feel like photo that you're going to see is going to completely be new and different, and see all of this, like I said, from 101 as you're driving up. It's no longer just a minion. So mix it up.
Yeah, we got to do something really fun, which is there was a long held desire that we wanted to somehow go around and underneath the Starway. So you can see that as part of the design. And at nighttime, that's going to be particularly enjoyable. So.
We've seen the Dodge Charger vehicle. I believe that's out on the floor. If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. But it's really interesting to see a coaster vehicle that is so detailed and clean like that. And it really feels like, I've seen it up close to the park, it really feels like you're actually getting into a car, small. But sort of just talk about how that sort of changes the feel of the coaster, and how you bring sort of a narrative feel into a coaster.
Well, the IP, intellectual property, it's absolutely imperative to honor. And I've always said, and then the cars have held a special meaning for all of us on the project, because I've always said no ride vehicle will be more highly scrutinized than these ride vehicles. This is a fan favorite, and we have to live up to that expectation. So I can tell you a lot, and I mean a lot of design effort, a lot of inspection trips, a lot of design work went into the crafting of the look and the authenticity to make all of the cars, in addition to the Charger, just everything that you would love to be in, and to actually create the feeling that you're in those vehicles. And I think we really killed it. I mean, like I say.
We literally sent our art director out to Germany to watch paint dry at one point on one of the ride vehicles. It was a last minute trip right before Christmas, and we got to make sure this color is precise. And that was the level of what we were going to do to make them real.
Yeah, and we worked directly with the gentleman who really designed a lot of these cars, and a lot of the props, like I said, they're in the queue line. So again, it's all about authenticity, because otherwise you miss the mark completely. And because we are Hollywood and everybody's right there, they're going to be looking right at it. So it's just it's a mandate. We take it very seriously.
Our partners in the franchise can actually see the coaster from the kitchen window in their office. So I'll just get phone calls randomly asking, like, hey, what's the coming up to? We're seeing something moving. When are we going to do this? So it's very close and personal.
Well, I mean, I know the coaster is coming soon, and I know there's going to be things you're going to talk about closer to its opening. Is there anything you could tell us today, sort of just about the storyline of the coaster and how it fits into the Fast franchise?
Well, I mentioned a little bit earlier, the creative conceit here is that you're not approaching, we're not trying to put you in a movie. That's not the idea here. We're trying to basically bring you into a garage where, in theory, they figured out how to create these stunts. And you're going to learn, you're going to see diagrams of how you shoot a car off of a mountain and have it land, into a building somewhere. And you're going to see the making of footage there. You're going to see the actual props that were used in the making of a lot of these stunts. So it's almost like a love letter to the stuntmen and stunt women who have really brought this franchise to life. And because when you take a look at it, that's such a big essential part of it. So again, the thought was not so much about taking you and putting you inside of a movie, because you take one look at this coaster when it's going around, you're just going to be looking at the coaster. I mean, that's just what it is. So we thought, let's take you behind the scenes and really open up how they actually make these movies.
And with our last couple minutes on the panel, everybody on this panel over the years has been extremely generous with their time and sharing stories with me about theme parks. And one of my sort of things I try to write about is that these spaces are actually sort of important. Like we need places like Universal Studios. We need to go to these spaces. You know, so yeah, I just love to throw this out to the panel and just, maybe hear a couple thoughts on what you love about theme parks, why they're valuable to us culturally, why these spaces matter.
I've always been I'm a huge reader. I have been my entire life. And with theme parks, you get the opportunity to walk into these stories, to be a part of it. You can see hoverboards or walk through Art's Funhouse. I prefer not to on that one, but you can really, really be part of these worlds. I mean, that's obviously we're all sitting here at Comic-Con, everybody, you fall in love with the fandom and you want to be a part of it. And at theme parks, it's a safe space where you can, like I said, walk through Hogsmeade. I'm a big Powder fan, so that's a big one. Working on Nintendo, you're fully surrounded and immersed by the creatures you've only ever seen on a screen. And to me, that's the magic of these places and the creativity that we're lucky enough to be able to tap into working for theme parks is really life-changing in a lot of ways. We meet some incredible people, have some really weird conversations some days, but it's, you generally very fun. And, it's gotta be cultivated.
I mean, I can't say how lucky I feel, and I feel quite frankly humbled. I've been very fortunate. This was not my chosen career path when I was in college, and it was the best thing that ever happened that I didn't go where I was supposed to go. I have been so fortunate to have kind of touched, whether it's Back to the Future and some of the stuff back in my first iteration, and then coming back into this, and right when we were building Potter and doing Despicable Me and Jurassic and DreamWorks Theater and of course Nintendo, and now this, and there's plenty more coming along the way. But I also want to say that we all feel this great emotional connection with these places and with these experiences, and that's a joy in and of itself. But I also want to say that to me, I get to work around some of the smartest and most intelligent people that I know. I mean, these are very complex ideas. What we do is invention, and it's innovative, and it's new all the time, and it takes a tremendous spark of creativity, both from just a writing standpoint, engineering standpoint, construction standpoint, and we spend more time together than we spend with our families, I've said. And I also have been fortunate enough to, I've been in the FanFest meetings, and I get to be a part of a lot of other things. So it's also just being around the people. And then lastly, I just want to say there's no better feeling than I've ever experienced than opening day when the fans come in. And, there was one time I did an interview and I was saying this, and I said, I saw this 7-year-old kid with his, 47-year-old dad, and they just fell to their knees and lost their minds. And that was just, but it was because they were just overcome with the emotion of being surrounded by this. And it's incredibly rewarding. So I have to thank everybody here for that. So thank you.
For me, it's very similar. It's the imprint that we get to have on people's experience, whether it's you with your family, your friends, you're there for the day, you're coming to our event year after year, but the ability to have that imprint on someone's experience and be able to take it, I always say is, go back to the theater world, which is where I come from. It's theater turned on its side. We don't do shows 8 times a week, we do it 8 times a day. So we get that opportunity to continue impacting the guest experience every hour, every second, and especially being in entertainment, we get to have an opportunity to develop content that lasts for one night with our Eve events or 4th of July, to seasonal events like Halloween Horror Nights or FanFest nights, to also content that lives on for a much longer time with some of the work that we do in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and other areas. So be able to run the full gamut of that and be part of that experience that guests get to have each and every day at the park is just so rewarding.
And you've probably heard this a million times before, but I watched Frankenstein when I was 4 years old, and was hooked. And from that point on, when I realized you could go to Universal Studios Hollywood, and that was the place they made these movies, but also you might, run into Frankenstein, or, I begged my parents to take me there. There's an old picture my parents have from 1972, so I was 5 years old, where I met the Wolfman, for the first time. And I'm literally holding this poor guy's hand, like the Wolfman, and he's talking. I must have followed him all around the park. He was probably thinking, geez, how do I get rid of this kid? But that excitement never left me and hasn't left me. And what I think is so special about, a place, of course, I filter it through the lens of Horror Nights because that's what I do every day of my life. But it's a home I think it's truly a home for people who love this genre. And, let's face it, we're all a little weird, in the world of horror, right? When we were young, people probably made fun of you for the things that you liked, but it's your home. And you have all these people that are like-minded with you, and it's a true community. And that never leaves me. And just like going back to the little kid who held, the Wolfman's hand, a mother sent me a video recently of her son who had never been able to get up the courage to go to Horror Nights, but because of Five Nights at Freddy, and literally it's him looking at that facade and just crying tears of joy, and that's pretty powerful stuff, and that's the power that not only Horror Nights, but all of the work everybody here does is creating these places that is truly like your home, for the things that you love.
Thank you all for joining us today and sharing. Thank you all for coming as well. Thanks for joining again.
Let's give them something.
Yes. Thank you, John.
I'm going to go off script here. Let's give away 4 Universal Express tickets to Lions. I didn't prepare for this though, so I didn't know about this. So
I thought we were getting an announcement.
Universal, you can afford it, right? Yeah. All right. I'm going to take Scooby-Doo as inspiration. Okay. At the end of every Scooby-Doo episode, when they catch the monster or the bad guy, and don't blurt it out, or I'm going to rip up those tickets and you'll never get them. They unmask them. What does the guy always say to the kids?
Pick me, pick me, pick me.
Right. You got 2 hands up and you're kind of wearing like a right there. Yep, that's you. Yep. Sorry, one more time. Meddling kids. Yeah, I would have gotten away from it. Who's going to move them up? Mario. Where's Mario? Mario is right. Mario is your new best friend. We're going to give you 4 tickets to Horror Nights Express.
Damn.
And then we're going to do one more. To celebrate FanFest nights. To celebrate FanFest nights and the announcement we just made and everything that's to come, everyone's going to walk away with one of these great branded FanFest games. Okay?
All right. Thank you. All right, everyone. That is it for this Universal panel here at LA Comic Con.
I feel like Jordan, I gotta wake up. So, wake up. Well, there you go. Shout out to Theme Park Wizard. Shout out to George. Halo Galato. Shout out to Halo Galato. I don't know what to say. I thought John was about to be like, and one more thing, Five Nights at Freddy 2 2026. Let's go! But we got nothing. I think it's time. That's how we feel about that. So, what is there to talk about? There's something to talk about, right? There's something to talk about. Let me get a vibe check. Are you guys awake? Everybody awake right now? Are you guys alive? Can you hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? Do I have to hit the horn? Wake up! Wake up! Are you awake? Can you hear the words coming out of my mouth? Can you hear the words coming out of my mouth? Is it this one?
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You get nothing. You lose. Good. Nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
I need to have that as a drop, like where I could just instantly go to that. Faded. Michael's faded. All right, well, we got some stuff to talk about. We got Barely Awake. I'm disappointed. This was disappointing. It is what it is. If they come back next year, we have the right expectation, right? Nothing's going to be announced. All right, we do got something to talk about, and that's the announcement that happened yesterday. So FanFest 2026 tickets went live. The Fandom Pass went live, which is similar to like a Frequent Fear, but a lot more expensive. Scooby-Doo Universal Monsters 2026. We really didn't get a lot of like meat on the bone of what to expect, but I have an idea. So the first thought we all thought of not that long ago, I'm going to say like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago at the most, Universal was surveying people and everybody was talking about it and whatever. A lot of messages came my way. One of those experiences was Scooby-Doo Universal Monsters Studio Tour Experience. And it would be something very similar to Back to the Future. And I remember talking about that with my friends back in, a month ago, and saying, well, if they do Scooby-Doo, I highly doubt that Back to the Future will also come. And the reason I say that, how are they going to have people get off in Courthouse Square and also have people get off in, I'm assuming, Little Europe? That's where the monsters were born. That's where Universal Monsters live. I would assume the experience would be over there, right? Back to the Future, Courthouse Square. It makes sense. Little Europe, Universal Monsters. Now that this is official. This is not like I made this up right here. I'm thinking that there's probably just one experience on the studio tour. The amount of staffing it would take to do 2 studio tour experiences, that's crazy. Unless their budgets are just that big. But we're talking about the same park that threw one Freddy Fazbear at the stage and said things were expensive. I think it's just going to be one Scooby-Doo or one studio tour experience, and it'll be this right here. There's probably some people that are very devastated. Back to the Future might not come back. I'm in that boat. I loved every goddamn thing about Back to the Future. I remember saying, I was like, if Back to the Future comes back and, they're afraid to take risk and go Back to the Future 2 and, kind of keep progressing the story every year, I'm okay with just Back to the Future Destination Hill Valley coming back. Maybe they could just add more characters to it and bring back the same thing. I'm not complaining. That was really good. Lots of times you hear us always like, oh, we want something new. This is kind of one of those weird things because I would have been fine with just that experience coming back again. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to say right now. I don't think we're getting two. I don't think we're getting two separate studio tour experiences. I just don't think so. Uh, that's not to say. That's not to say. Back to the Future ain't coming back. I could see it come back, but like meet and greets. You know, we saw them do Mega Movie Summer, and some of those same actors came as meet and greets as well over there at the Plaza. I have a feeling they might go that route. Maybe they kind of progressed the story there. Back to the Future 2 meet and greets. You know, the fandom's kind of pissed about that, but it is what it is. I have some other questions to ask, and like, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way or nothing like that. I'm just testing the waters because I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. How excited are you for Scooby-Doo Universal Monsters? Is this Scooby-Doo a selling point for you where you're like, oh, I gotta buy a ticket now? How do you feel about the Scooby-Doo announcement? Like, is it winning you over? You can't wait. You already bought your ticket. How do you feel? For me personally, you know, I'm on the YouTube side. I'm buying the Fandom Pass instantly, no matter what. I enjoyed everything about this event last year. So anything that was going to get announced, it didn't matter. I was going to buy my pass. But for you guys, where you're like on the fence and, you know, you didn't go last year, how are you feeling about it this year so far? I want to hear from you guys. Because that was kind of one of the issues for FanFest last year. I feel like things weren't delivered clearly of like, what is this event? What are you doing here? What is going on? Like, there was even like a month into FanFest, people were still like, Mondo, what is FanFest about? I'm like, what? Have you not seen any of my live streams or video, anything I've made? People were still like, what the hell's FanFest? For Scooby-Doo, not at all. No, I'm not planning a trip to FanFest. Nah, you got to keep open mind, Albert. There's a lot of announcements still for FanFest. I got to see how it's executed. I'm not, why, but the panel, it'd say rides, attractions, could be Back to the Future returning to FanFest. They didn't say nothing about Back to the Future returning. Knowing Universal, they will release a lineup for FanFest early next year. I have a feeling they're going to just start announcing because they got to build up momentum and hype. I don't think they have the luxury like a Horror Nights to just drag the hell out of your announcements because this is still a new event. You know, for the most part, not a lot of people really know about this thing. I'm hyped for this, but Back to the Future isn't returning, then I don't know. I'm really excited. Can't wait. They needed at least 3 announcements. I still am going to probably go. I didn't get to go to FanFest last year, so I was bummed. No Back to the Future, but I'm still excited to go and experience this. All right. I love Scooby-Doo, so this is a win. $75. Yeah, we haven't talked about that. I'll talk about that right now, about the pricing. I think they might wait to announce something like they did last year on October 21st for Back to the Future. That's interesting. That's interesting. Cherry says, I kind of wish it was an IP that I wasn't already at another theme park, aka Six Flags. What are we talking about? What IP's at Six Flags? Six Flags got Scooby-Doo. We got Scooby-Doo at Universal. I'm hyped for Scooby-Doo meet and greets, or Scooby-Doo meets Universal Monsters. I think Universal's going to knock it out of the park. Yeah, I'm excited. For me, I'm excited. Anthony, I'm excited. Universal Monsters and Scooby-Doo. I love both IPs. I heard Sailor Moon is coming. Yeah, but Sailor Moon, from all I've ever heard, rumor, is that it's the theater show. But I think that was one of the biggest missed opportunities of FanFest last year is people are coming to see Jujutsu Kaisen because, it was it was blasted all over the marketing. And then it was like, oh, it's just a show? There's not a meet and greet? People wanted the Jujutsu Kaisen meet and greets. It's just a great way to flush out that IP, that fandom. Because, you know, the meet and greets are really like, this is real. This is something they brought to life, you know? But Jujutsu Kaisen, way better experience than the HHN Chainsaw Man. I've only watched it once. I got to watch it again, but you know, it was like I wasn't sold on that show. Jujutsu Kaisen, I watched it like, I feel like 9 times. I watched it a lot when it was here for FanFest. It was one of my favorite things, but I do wish there was a meet and greet. Even if it's just one character, like in this case, if it was just Sailor Moon, only her as a meet and greet, she'd be one of the biggest draws of this whole FanFest. Sailor Moon's huge. You'd be shocked. And people are going to cosplay the hell out of Sailor Moon if that is something that comes. I confidently believe that. A lot of Sailor Moon cosplaying. I hope Jurassic World has a better thing for FanFest. You know, Jurassic World was one of those things on that survey too. But if I can remember, it was Jurassic Park. I don't think it was Jurassic World. I remember looking at it thinking Park. But I don't know. It could all be just a survey, right? Us weebs have money. We are more than happy to drop tons of money to see our anime faves. No, I agree. Anime fans. Someone just posted. Let me see if I could look for this video real quick. I think it was my buddy Vanessa. I think it was. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know who posted. I guess I could just search at LA Comic Con, right? Maybe a video will pop up. God, Instagram search engines just sucks. It literally sucks. I'll go to Twitter, LA Comic Con. Yeah, there we go. This is kind of the gist of what I was looking. The anime crowd, they are huge. It's humongous, literally humongous. And Universal knows that. They already know. They're already tapping in multiple times in an anime. I don't doubt One Piece comes back. Like, why wouldn't it? It was one of the biggest driving factors of FanFest. But yeah, I just wanted to say I agree. Anime's huge. It's gigantic, honestly. What's up, Tommy Toon? Do you think Bowser Jr. at FanFest, like how Yoshi was this year, maybe Donkey Kong, since we don't have him here in Hollywood? I know, dude, those Yoshis should just be, or not all the Yoshis, but Yoshi, the green Yoshi. He should just be meeting and greeting right now. Like, why does he have to be locked behind this FanFest wall? Because Yoshi alone is like his own world. Like he's just, I almost feel like he's separate from everything else. He's just like gigantic love for that character. I could see them do more characters. Honestly, I want Bowser more than Bowser Jr. I want Bowser. I don't even care if they do anything else. Just Bowser. That'd be sick. But like maybe they could expand outside of the Mario world. There's so much Nintendo to go around. But I don't know. Yeah, the possibilities with FanFest are honestly endless. They could do so much. Why can't we get more Transformer characters? Let's throw that out there. They already got meet and greets down there. More Transformers. More dinosaurs, for that matter, right? A cows. Super chat. I could definitely see Demon Slayer making its way. I gotta watch that movie. My buddy SoCal Tall Guy, he's just raving about that movie like crazy. He saw it in, I think Demon Slayer's in IMAX. I'm not too familiar with Demon Slayer, so I have to watch it. I don't know. But I do know that a lot of people love Demon Slayer. It would make sense, right? Something that hot right now to come to FanFest. But one thing I'm gonna piggyback off what the people were saying at the panel is that they've been working on these things for 3-4 years. 3 to 4 years. So it's probably kind of hard for them to shove something so current into whatever they're doing, because they're probably greenlighting ideas from 3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, I don't know. Can Demon Slayer? I'm not saying Demon Slayer wasn't hot back then, 3-4 years ago. It probably was, but maybe Demon Slayer might have to wait another year. Isn't Universal Monsters already in the Scooby-Doo universe, like Mummy, Frankenstein, Creature, and Dracula? I think this will be great. Even Scooby-Doo is a classic. I love to see it in real life. Yeah, no, I've seen the cartoons with Frankenstein and Scooby-Doo. It's a perfect collab. I'm just really curious, the whole, say we eliminate, oh man, I'm just looking at it right now. Look at this thing. Look at this. This literally perfection. I'm just looking at it right now. I'm just curious how they do interactive storytelling experience in the outside world that's Scooby-Doo Universal Monsters. That's going to be a tough one, because could we possibly get a Frankenstein that talks, maybe? A Wolfman that talks? A Creature from the Black Lagoon that could talk? I have no idea how this, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be very interesting. This is fun. It boggles my mind how it's all going to go. But it's exciting. I bought my FanFest tickets already. I'm hyped. All right, let's go to, this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. I got to get my day going. I got to go hit some golf balls. Get my mind off all this no announcement stuff. FanFest tickets, if I'm not mistaken, until the 17th, December 17th. That's what I remember somebody saying. I got to read the thing, but FanFest tickets are available right now. They are $74. How is this experience $74? We got Disney doing Oogie Boogie Bashes and Sweetheart Nights, Pride Night. Everything's in the $140 to $180 range. It's crazy. And Universal's dropping tickets at $74. This is why I'm just shook. I'm shook that's the price. This is general admission, a one ticket. You get a one ticket general admission. They are selling, this one's obviously a hefty price, $250. $250 for the Fandom Pass. If you know what a frequent fear, this is your frequent fear to FanFest. I will say this again. For the people that have a pass, I think more than likely they're going to do the whole, if you're in the park, you could buy a FanFest ticket for $55 or whatever, $50. So anybody that has a pass, just save a little bit of money and buy it in the park. So you don't need to do the general admission. You can just buy your ticket in the park. I know I'm going to go a lot because I freaking love FanFest. I'm buying the big kahuna right here at $250. So for me, it would be like I have to go at least 5 times to make it worth it. I'm easily going 5 times. I'm trying to bump those numbers up. 5 times is rookie numbers. It's rookie numbers. I think it will be villains dressed as Universal monsters. At the end of the loop, they will be unmasked. Oh. Let's look it up. Scooby-Doo villains. Universal monsters. What do we got? I guess this is a good one right here, right? So I have a feeling this is it. This is kind of where they're going with it, right? This is it. Yeah, I'm going to go it's this right here. Like, that's probably the template that they're going for. Hey, Coco. Are you in the kitchen? Okay. I was like, who's over there? Maybe Naruto, Dragon Ball, since these are older animes and there will be a big draw, especially if Universal has been working. Yeah. Hey, I'm down with Dragon Ball and Naruto, honestly. I like both those properties. Back to the Future, we clearly knew what the story we're going down, whereas we don't know what route it'll go with Scooby-Doo. That's a thing I brought up. I was talking with Hector about, and I mentioned exactly what you're talking about, Peter, is that Back to the Future, you already knew what the end goal is. For Scooby-Doo, you have no idea. So it's like, who do I need to talk to, or what is it that I'm looking for, or where do I run for story experiences? How FanFest was doing it, where we had Biff fighting over here, and then there was a fight at the car, and then there was Doc Brown and Marty talking at the front of the courthouse. Like, all that kind of made sense. It's really in line with the movie. Scooby-Doo, I have no idea. I have no idea. And I think that'll be a big struggle because people are going to get off the studio tour and it's like, well, what the hell do I do? Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy. I don't know how this is going to go down, but at the end of the day, Universal monsters are being used. How exciting is that? To me, that's great. We're probably going to get some cool ass merch, I would assume, right? Scooby-Doo, Universal monster merch, collabing, a little bit of collab. All right, to end today's video, we gotta see one of these things right here. I think it's right here. We gotta see one before we get on out of here. We gotta see one.
We're gonna make this a night to remember. And let's get this party started now.
Fine. Let's take a bonehead picture, man.
Dude, Just seeing this, right? I miss Biff already. And T-Bone. Oh, FanFest was so damn good, man. God damn.
Hey now. Hey. Biff got the move.
Oh man, it just brings back so many good memories right here. All right. I'm trying to. Where are we at? There we go.
Due to inclement weather, the dance portion of tonight is cancelled. You're all dismissed.
What's going on?
I think this was the first one, like the first one that we saw. Like I think there's an opening day live stream. Does it say opening day? I didn't even read. Yeah, opening day. Like, what am I talking about? Benji, 41 months. Oh my. I think it's going to be more of a scavenger hunt to help the Scooby Gang solve the mystery, going from character to character, helping them each. I have to say, I don't know how that would work. Like, in my head, I can't think of how to process that unless it's kind of like a little bit like Oogie Boogie Bash, where all these characters are stationed in certain spots and you have to interact, solve the thing, go to the next one, interact, solve the thing. And then I guess eventually after a 45-minute loop, something will happen, right? I don't know. That's a good guess. I'll start asking around myself, but not a lot of people know anything about FanFest right now.
Are you having perfect timing today or what?
Yeah, I'm just like getting chills. I'm getting chills looking at this footage. It was so damn good. So damn good. I could just watch this video over and over. Oh man, I can't keep watching this. I'm just gonna get sad because it's. I can't go do this. I need to watch Horror Night video. I could go do Horror Nights. What am I complaining about? I'm not complaining. FanFest was so good this year. You would have thought it was from 2019. Dude, it was literally incredible. Yeah, no, FanFest was just... You know, one day we'll ask the question, did FanFest peak instantly? You know what I mean? It's a weird question to ask, but it was a home run. The first year of Back to the Future was so ridiculously cool. Bring Pokemon E.T., TMNT, Back to the Future again. I'm sold. Scooby-Doo is a great start. Hey, right here, I'm totally down with that. I love Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles is amazing. All right. Well, that is all for me today, everybody. Thank you for joining the live. I hope you guys had some fun. Shout out to Theme Park Wizard. Shout out to George as well for letting us go into their live stream and seeing what was being talked about. But get your tickets. FanFest is already available. And general admission and the Fandom Pass if you're crazy. But it's worth it. I can't recommend FanFest enough. I'm going to go get to my editing. LA Hayride video will be dropping in like an hour or two. I'll be editing it right now. And then we have Fright Fest. We got Dark Harbor. So a lot of Halloween videos. So whenever I drop my videos, drop 5 fires in the chat. I love all the support from everybody. So thank you. Smash the like button. Have a great wonderful rest of your Saturday. I can't believe today's Saturday. Tomorrow's football. I can't wait for football. But smash the like button. Have a wonderful weekend. We are firing it down. Love y'all.